So I've been like missing on this channel for like 5 days or something like that. So where do I start? I have been at the Animal Liberation Conference in Berkeley, California for the past week-ish, and I've been filming and sharing everything that's been going on. The conference ended in a mass action at a duck hatchery, farm, and slaughterhouse in Petaluma, California. At this farm, there had been hours upon hours upon hours of recorded cases of criminal animal cruelty. Under California Penal Code 597, it is illegal for... Let me actually just read it to you. Got it. So, it's long, so I'm going to kind of like break it down. So, under California Penal Code 597, every person who overdrives, overloads, drives when overloaded, overworks, tortures, torments, deprives of necessary sustenance, drink, or shelter, cruelly beats, mutilates, or cruelly kills any animal or procures any animal to be so overdriven, overloaded, driven when overloaded, overworked, tortured, tormented, deprived of necessary sustenance, drink, shelter, or to be cruelly beaten, mutilated, or cruelly killed. I'm curious how you can be like uncruelly killed, unless like it's on your own will or... I'm back. And whoever having the charge or custody of any animal, either as owner or otherwise, subjects any animal to needless suffering, that's an important one, or inflicts unnecessary cruelty upon the animal, or in any manner abuses any animal, or fails to provide the animal with proper food, drink, or shelter, or protection from the weather, or who drives, rides, or otherwise uses the animal when unfit for labor, is for each offense, guilty of a crime punishable pursuant to subdivision D. So subdivision D states that a violation of subdivision A, B, or C is punishable as a felony. By imprisonment pursuant to subdivision H of section 1170, or by a fine of not more than $20,000, or by both that fine and imprisonment, or alternatively as a misdemeanor by imprisonment in a county jail for not more than a year, or by a fine of not more than... or by both that fine and imprisonment. I don't know, they give some real leeway in here. Anyways, illegal. That's the main point. Animal cruelty equals not fucking legal. So, under that, we had tons and tons and tons of evidence at this farm. So I'm just going to let you know I'm kind of uncomfortable right now because I'm like on my knees on a couch in the house. That is not mine. There are some dogs chilling, so I'm going to be like moving around. So under California Penal Code 597E, what was happening inside of this farm was criminal animal cruelty and was actually a felony offense. So all of the footage that we had, everything, all the evidence we gathered against them, it had been turned into the authorities. It had been reported. We'd been begging them, please enforce the fucking law and start a criminal animal cruelty investigation, which is your job to do as a law enforcement officer. Please do that. And they wouldn't. They ignored us for months and months and months and months. So, under California Penal Code 597E, which I'm not going to read, but maybe I should. I'll read it. I'll be back. California Penal Code 597E. Yeah. 597E. Any person who impounds or causes to be impounded in any pound, the fucking wording in this is like, any domestic animal shall supply they're people, they're not property, even though legally they're property. shall supply them during such confinement with a sufficient quantity of good and wholesome food and water, and in default therefore is guilty of a misdemeanor. And in case any domestic animal is oh yeah, that's actually a part I should read. In case any domestic animal is at any time so impounded and continues to be without necessary food and water for more than 12 consecutive hours, it is lawful for any person from time to time, as may deem necessary, to enter into and upon any pound in which the animal is confined and supply it with the necessary food and water so long as it remains so confined. Such person is not liable for the entry and may collect the reasonable cost of the food and water from the owner of the animal, and the animal is subject to enforcement of a money judgment for the reasonable cost of such food and water. So, to summarize, animal cruelty is bad and literally not legal. So we had a shit ton of proof showing that there were animals in this industry, in this particular farm, that weren't able to access food for much longer than 12 hours. The rate at which these ducks grow, so ducks in the industry have been genetically modified just like all the other animals to grow really, really fucking fast, which is extremely harmful for their physiology. And so there's so much weight on their bodies that often they fall over and they're not able to get up, and their legs are just in the air and they can't get up off their back, and they lay on their back until they die of either dehydration or starvation or some combination of both. So we had all this proof. They were clearly breaking the law. We gave it to the cops. The cops were like, crazy activists, we really don't want to deal with this. They're basically in bed with the industry. And so under California Penal Code 597E, we took matters into our own hands legally. Legally. Keyword, legally. So, on 6/3, God, what month is it? January, February, March, April, May, June. On June 3rd, a large group of us entered the facility and broke into different groups and did different things. So in my group, we went to the front of the we went to the main gate, and we spread a chain across the whole thing, and we tied ourselves there. We wrapped the chain around our neck, locked it, and gave the key away. And our intention was to stay there so that no trucks could come in or out, and to really just shut down the entire facility. Other teams were inside, sitting in. Some of them were physically removing animals from the slaughter line, and then stopped the slaughter line and bike locked their own necks onto the shackles that had been holding the duck's legs. And then one of the workers turned on the line intentionally, and one of our activists almost got his head ripped off. He had been standing, there was like a pole kind of near him, and basically he'd started getting dragged, and his body was pressed up against the pole, and his head was being jarred to the side. And so they were able to get it off before he literally died, but he had to go to the hospital later that day, and it was a mess. But due to that, all of those activists, they moved to the front and they bike locked themselves to the front gate. So there was a large team of us out there, and we shut the entire facility down. A group of people had also brought us deceased birds. So we were sitting on the ground and we were carrying the bodies of dead birds that had been thrown into a trash can on the facility, and it had been labeled inedible. So yeah, we sat there for 5 hours. Over 500 activists showed up. I'm kind of stressing myself out, so I made a bowl of Cheerios. So I haven't really had a lot of time to digest everything that happened, so my emotions have kind of been wonkers. This is the first day that I've really had time to just chill. I haven't really left the house a ton today. Yeah, I got out of jail 2 days ago, and so everything's just kind of been crazy, and so I'm still processing everything that happened. Okay, so where was I? So I'm realizing that I actually need to leave for a static dance approximately right now. I'm not gonna be back till 1 in the morning. So I'm either going to completely restart this video tomorrow, or I'm going to pick up where I left off. I love you guys. Hi, do you want to say out of the camera? What's that? What is Kiora is my friend's puppy companion. I've been staying at a friend's house for the past few days. She's generously been hosting me. And Kiora is very, very playful. I've been playing fetch with her for hours, I think. I think it's been hours. Anyways, back to the video. So I was arrested. I started making a video explaining this and then got cut off, and I was just kind of in like a really weird headspace because I hadn't been able to really process everything that had happened because a lot happened. But then at the ecstatic dance that I went to, a lot happened where I was able to just release and like cry for a while and just have this very healing moment of, okay, like I'm okay, what happened, and I have the capacity to heal. And so now I'm in a headspace where I can talk about everything. So almost as soon as we sat down, someone was bringing us birds, and one person had 2 dead birds, and they said, who can take this? And I said, I can. And he put them in my arms, and I just instantly started crying. Yeah, one of them had been dead for a while. Their eye was gone. They didn't have any eyes left. They rotted out. And then the other one, they had recently died. They still had their eyes, and their eyes were open, actually. And I was looking into their eyes, and I was talking to them, and I was telling them that I'm sorry, and that we're changing this, and I promised them that we are changing this, and that this isn't something that they're gonna have to go through again, that if they're kind, is gonna have to go through again, that any of our kind is gonna have to go through again. We're here to stop this, we're here to change this, we're here to transform the system. And so I held those ducks for over 5 hours, which is approximately how long we were chained there. Soon after I received their bodies, we heard sirens coming, and then 2 busloads. You're so good. You're such a fucking good girl. Oh, you're so good. You're so good. You're so good. 2 busloads of activists showed up and started marching towards us. And it was incredible. It was so incredible to sit there and watch this stream of friends just march on forward, singing and holding peace signs, and it was remarkable. And during the beginning, there was kind of a surreal moment where it was just this line of photographers and videographers standing in front of us, and sorry, that was my fault. You're such a good girl. What? Oh my god. Okay, anyways, so there was just this line of photographers and videographers in front of us, and it was just like crazy. I've never been in that situation before, and it was very, very surreal, and to be in such an emotional state where you literally have a chain locked around your, like, even if I wanted to go, I literally didn't know where the keys were. I couldn't, and I was just holding dead bodies, and yeah, I didn't know what was happening inside with my friends that were inside. I didn't know what was happening with rescue. I didn't know what was happening at all. I was just sitting there. So yeah, more activists showed up, and the whole thing went by like so fast that I'm trying to recall it. But at one point, they had been blocking, the police formed a barricade down the road, and they still weren't letting like over 100 activists by. And so the people that had been trained in civil disobedience, about 100 of them, they went over. And okay, well, first of all, the police weren't allowing people to go by because they were saying that it's an active crime scene and that they can't go. And our attorney called back and was like, no, that's public property, and with what's happening, that is not an active crime scene. You can go by. Like, you have every legal right to. And so that's when the activists went over. Now, this part's so badass. They crossed the police line. The police were like, what are you doing? They're like, oh, just walking. and they formed a circle around that group. They linked arms and they broke through the police wall as the police were yelling, like, you, like, if you cross this line, like, you are under arrest. And everyone was just like, peace. How badass. How amazing. I am so proud of each and every individual that did that. Like, that warms my heart. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of you. Thank you. Yes, go you. Anyways, that was dope. And so, yeah, back to me sitting there. I hadn't really thought about what it was going to be like, but I hadn't anticipated how much support I got because it was a lot. So I had decided previously that I was going to fast that day, and I knew that the likelihood of the police actually following the law, which our only demands were enforce the law and start an animal cruelty investigation. That was literally it. They weren't crazy. They really weren't crazy. But I knew that the police probably weren't going to do that. So I had a vague idea that I was probably going to be arrested. And I knew that if I was, that I was not going to bail out because that's ridiculous. I shouldn't be in jail anyway. So I'm not going to give them money and adhere to that system when I shouldn't be there anyways. And that would also just be easier on them. Like, when you bail out, they benefit basically. So yeah. So I knew I didn't want to eat food in jail, and I didn't want to eat at the action. So I was like, I'm going to just fast for a few days. So I was fasting that day. And also I knew that if I had to go to the bathroom, I wouldn't be able to do that. So I was actually wearing like an adult diaper, which I didn't end up using, but it was useful to like have. And they're also a lot more discreet. Like, when I thought about a diaper, I thought it was going to be like a baby diaper. It wasn't. It was pretty chill. Yeah, I had that. So I was drinking like minimal water, but everyone was so amazing. So amazing. Like, every like 30 seconds, someone was either offering me water, a sandwich, or some other food, shade, more water. Like everyone just be like, you're amazing, you're a hero, can I give you water? Do you need anything? Can I give you a sandwich? And then someone else would walk over like, do you want water? And then this whole time someone's shading me, someone's like fanning me. Like, people had to come over and they were shading all of us because it was like a clear day, the sun was blaring, it was 80 degrees, it was hot, like we were burning, and people stood by us the whole time. Hours. People were shading us for hours and just like taking shifts, and people were coming up and lifting the chains off our necks. They were really, really heavy chains. And one person, my friend Danny, she sat in between me and my friend, and she lifted the chains up and just held them for a really long time. And they were amazing. They were amazing. The support of this community, just the family, the kinship, it's just incredible. I want to say amazing because it's amazing. I've said it a trillion times, but it is amazing how we came together to do that. How just wonderful everyone was. I'm so grateful for everyone who helped me or any other activist that day, for everyone who showed up, for everyone who got arrested, for just everyone. Thank you. Yeah, so okay, end of that. Not really, but because later I'm gonna thank people again. But that was great. Everyone was very helpful. I still didn't drink a ton of water because I didn't want to pee, but if I would have drank all the water I was offered, that would have been a lot. Yeah, so did that for a while, and then eventually the police announced that we're arresting you all for trespassing and like conspiracy, and no, that was only for those of us with the birds. The other thing I was gonna say, but anyways, so yeah, he announced something and he's like, if you have 5 minutes to get off the property or you're arrested. And they didn't want to arrest all of us because there was a lot of us. So some people crossed over the street and other people came over and they sat in a row in front of us and they locked arms. It was like 3 or 4 rows of activists. It was incredible. I'm gonna cry. It was amazing to hear the police say, if you come over here, you're arrested. And everyone just walked over and sat down. And prior to this, actually, I'll include this video. I posted it already, but I'll just include part of it here. I was leading us all in song, and we hear behind us, like, left, left, right, left, and I look, and there's police and riot gear marching fast to us, and they line up behind us, and just the reality of that was sickening. The fact that there were police in riot gear just watching us, ready to arrest us, saying, I get that what you're doing is actually like under legal necessity and you're asking us to follow the law, but we're threatened by you. And everyone there was literally just being like, we love you guys, we respect you guys, please just do your jobs, that's all we're asking. No one was harsh or mean. Whenever they needed to get through us, everyone was like, everyone move, and we formed a path. Like, we were incredibly respectful to the officers. We have nothing but love and compassion in our hearts for them. We understand that they're a part of the system as well. But the system needs to change. In order for the system to change, people need to change, because people form the system. People uphold the system. The system will only change if I change, if you change, if we all change. And so to those individual officers, to everyone involved that does uphold the system, you have the ability and you have the authority to transform the system. It is your responsibility. It is my responsibility. It is our responsibility. So, back to getting arrested. Everyone sat in front of us, and so they started making arrests. They would point to someone and they would stand up, put their hands behind their back. It was incredibly peaceful. We were singing the whole time. The whole time we were singing. And just watched everyone get arrested. My friend was sitting by me, and I asked if I could put my head on his back, and so I did, and I was just crying, and we were all singing, watching everyone getting arrested, and every time someone would get arrested, the whole crowd on the other side of the street would just cheer and say, we love you, we love you, we love you. And it was such an atypical arrest experience. Such an atypical arrest experience, like not normal. So when they finally got to the people just in the chains, then they started taking our birds. And when they took mine away, I just like, the reality of it hit me, and of like what we're doing, and of how historic what we're doing is, and of how critical it is in dismantling the system and transforming the system. And I remembered the promise that I made them, and I will never forget that promise. I promised them liberation. I promised them that I will get everyone out of there. I promised them that we are transforming the system, and I believe that. I later also got a tattoo of them, which I will show you approximately right now. So these are the two ducks that I was holding, and up here it says free birds. These were some blue wildflowers that were planted at the site. And so the day after we all got out of jail, we all had a meeting at this food place, and my friend, who also shares my name, was like, hey, are you gonna get a tattoo? Are you gonna get a tattoo of the ducks? And I was like, yeah, but I was gonna wait a bit. And she was like, well, I'm getting them today. So, and I was like, got it, me too. So then us and a group of like 8 other people went, and we all got tattoos, and they got, most of them, I think everyone but one, they got the ALC logo, which is like hands holding a chicken, but they had the artist draw a duck instead. It's a super cute tattoo. I really, really appreciate them all getting it. I think it's beautiful. I, however, knew that that wasn't right for me and that I needed something else. And this tattoo is just really, really meaningful to commemorate them, so that I won't ever forget them, and I'll remember that promise that I made to them and my purpose my purpose to just love and share love and be love. And so that is, I love this tattoo. I love this tattoo. I love looking at it. I love just like it kind of peeking around the corner. I love this tattoo a lot. So back to being arrested. The birds were taken from me, and then I started holding hands with the ladies that were next to me, which by the end of this, we were all family. We were connected. We are connected for life. Like, this is a kind of action that binds you to someone. When you chain yourself to people for more than 5 hours outside of a slaughterhouse and then all get arrested together and then go to jail together, it's pretty bonding. Very not normal, very impactful. We made history together, and I'm so proud and honored to be with them. So they started cutting the locks at the other end of where I was. So I watched everyone get their locks cut one by one. And then when they got to the person next to me, we'd been holding hands, and we still were. And I had someone write animal liberation on my arms. But that had rubbed off when I was sitting like this for so long. And so as they're cutting her thing, I was looking like this to see if it was still written on. And then in that moment, someone took a picture, and then that picture ended up being on like the front page of this news thing and on like several other news stories. There's a lot of news stories about this. And so it's kind of funny to me to like see that picture and be like, I know exactly what I was doing in that precise moment. But yeah, they cut hers, and then when they got to me, I just closed my eyes. They told me what they were gonna do, so they put on these safety goggles, and they had an officer hold up the chain and then one cutting, and one of the officers asked me, he's like, are you okay? And I was like, yes. And I wasn't really expecting them to like be that nice. And so I had closed my eyes, and I was just thinking about why we were there and remembering the lives that I'd held, lives that had been lost that I'd held, and just spreading peace, being peace, showing love and spreading love for everyone there. I'm pretty sure I was doing like Reiki in that moment as well. I was doing a lot in my head. But in that moment, someone taking a picture, and it is truly one of the most iconic pictures I have ever seen of me literally meditating as a bolt cutter is cutting through a bike chain on my neck. And then the officer asked me again, he's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. And I think something really important to add here is a lot of people have been commenting of like, okay, if these were like all black people, like this is not how this would have played out. Like there's all this police brutality going on, but these activists are treated so kindly. I'm not gonna say I'm fully aware of the police brutality that goes on, because I'm not in a position where like I fear for my life when I see the police. But I am aware of what happens, and that was one of my first things going into activism. Was actually, I was in 8th grade, and everything with Michael Brown happened, and that got me fired the fuck up. I was talking about Ferguson for a while. I was trying to convince my mom to let me go, and she was like, absolutely not, which was a good parent move. But I got lit about that. And so that was kind of my first step in actually like caring about activism and caring about everything, and really getting into like what's wrong in the world, was police brutality, specifically police brutality against people of color. And so that's kind of been the image I've had of the police, largely, is that brutal image. I do not think that all police are like that, because I don't think that you can ever base the actions of one person and then make a definition for everyone. I would like for the police to be reinvented, basically, and made into just a group who gives services to the community and who actually does protect and serve the community and makes everyone feel safe and loved, and a group of people that help other individuals. And I know that there are some officers who do that. Now, at this protest, Direct Action Everywhere, we have established ourselves over the years to be an overtly peaceful group. An overtly peaceful group. Like, we're literally all standing there with peace signs, holding up flowers, singing to them, telling them I love you. They've probably never experienced that. They were not in a situation where they were fearing for their life. They knew that none of us, or I mean most of them probably knew that none of us were going to try to attack them or harm them. They weren't in a position where they were afraid. And because we were coming from love, and because we were not coming from a position of, oh, fuck the police, you guys suck, like, fuck you, basically. That's, I think, why a lot of things changed. And yes, a majority of us were white passing. There were people of color involved in the arrest and at the protest, much larger than the arrest group. But with that privilege that we have of most of us not having to fear of being killed when we're arrested, we have that privilege to do these kind of actions. And that's why we're doing these kind of actions. As humans, we have that privilege, and specifically as humans who aren't a color that's discriminated against. So the officers were incredibly kind to us, and a lot of them knew that what was going on was fucked up. Like, a lot of them did not want to be there. They were in full body police suits. It's like some of them riot gear. It's 80 degrees outside. The sun is blaring. They're there for like hours, and they know they're wasting their time. None of us were being violent. We were singing. We were like crying. It was a complete waste of their time. And they had a helicopter surrounding us the whole time. That cost over $100,000 in taxpayer money wasted because the police would not follow the law. What? Yeah. So, fucking hell. Yeah. So, they cut my chain, and I stood up, put my hands behind my back, and they arrested me, and everyone just shouting, I love you, Cheyenne, like, you're awesome, and cheering. And I turned to all of them as I was being like walked away, and I said, I love you all. And I so deeply and sincerely mean that. I love everyone who was there. I love you watching this. I'm so grateful. Yeah, so I got walked to the back. There was just a line of us going to the police vans. They actually had to buy a prison bus because DXE keeps doing actions in Petaluma, and they have to do mass arrests now, which they don't want to do. We fuck up their system, which I'll talk about in my next video, because I'm gonna film a video after this of what my experience in jail was like, because that's a long story that I don't want to have this and that. Yep, separate. Anyways, so walked me over to the back, and they were also really nice to us. They just, asked a few questions that they have to ask, and then most of us had our IDs on us, so that made it easier. And then we were close to the shade, and they said, hey, do you guys want to just like form 2 lines so you can all be in the shade? I know it's hot out here. And we were like, yeah. And so we all just formed 2 lines, and they were just being very nice. We got led into the bus. So the original bus had left, which was like the normal prison bus. The bus we went in was like a prison bus, like a prison bus. There were cells. So like you go in, you can turn the corner, and there's like a very narrow hallway, and then there are cell doors, and in each cell, I think the back one was a lot larger, so I don't know how many people were back there, but in each of them there were 4 people that could fit. And so they walked me and 3 friends into one of them, and we were there for a while. And at that point I was parched, like I was thirsty. My mouth was like white. I had not had water in a hot minute. It was really hot, especially inside of that bus. And it was a while before we left, and then when we did leave, so we were all just singing, which was a really powerful experience to just all be singing in a prison bus together. for animal liberation. And so that was pretty beautiful. So we did that, and then they drove us to the prison, or sorry, to the jail. And we were outside for a while because they were unloading the prison bus inside, and then finally they took us inside. And by that time I was not feeling good. Like, the only thing I could think about was water. I was feeling just extremely dehydrated, like kind of lightheaded. And so as soon as I get out of the bus, which was a while, we were probably in there for over an hour. There were some people that were in the prison buses for over 6 hours because they were arrested almost immediately. So I really sympathize with those people. I don't know how they did that. Yeah. So we go in, and as soon as I get off the bus, I'm like, "Officer, I'm extremely dehydrated. I need water. Can I please get water?" He's like, "You'll get it after the booking process." And I was just like, okay. And so I look and I see just these lines of activists, and I was like, fuck, dude. Like, I need water. And so we all go over, like, I'm lined up, and we're just standing there and all just kind of like smiling at each other, like, we did it. And I mean, we didn't actually get them to start an investigation, but we got them to arrest us, which if the farm was to press charges and bring us to court, we would win because we have a case, because we were following the law. So we did it. So we were just standing there, and I'm just getting severely more dehydrated as time goes. So an officer comes by again, and I was like, "Hey, buddy, please, I need water. I feel like I'm gonna pass out." And then the original officer who told me no pipes in. He's like, "No." And I was like, "Fuck you." I didn't say that, but I was just like upset. And so I get back in my line. I hadn't actually moved, but I'm standing straighter or whatever, and I just like silently start to cry. I start to kind of just reflect on everything that happened that day, and the birds I'd been holding, and the fact that I was so thirsty I felt like I was gonna pass out. So I start crying out the rest of the water in my body, which made it worse. And my friend's next to me, and he says, "Cheyenne, are you okay? Do you need anything?" And I kind of like choke, and I was like, "Water." And then I start crying, and then I start sobbing and having a panic attack. And so, oh wait, this is like my jail experience. Should this move to the next video? This should move to the next video. Fuck, dude. Ha, pause. Now you have a cliffhanger. I'm having a panic attack in a police station. End of story. So, that's that. That's why we got arrested. That's the whole shebang. Yeah, coming up after this, my experience getting arrested and put in jail. I think that's it. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. If you want to do something like this, you should come to the Animal Liberation Conference next year in Berkeley. As soon as I get home and plant is open, I'm going to start planning for the Peace Conference, which is hopefully going to be this spring. So stay the frickin' tuned for that. Stay tuned for that. I love you, and I hope that you're having a wonderful moment. Thanks for watching this incredibly long video. I love you, babe. Anyways, where was I? Animal liberation.